Millions of people scream at their screens when their team scores. They celebrate victories like they personally won something and feel genuine heartbreak when their team loses. But then there are people who simply don't understand it. They watch the crowd going crazy and think, why are they so emotionally invested in this? Maybe that's you. You don't hate sports, you just don't feel the obsession. You don't spend hours watching games, you don't memorize every player's statistics, and your entire mood doesn't change because someone kicked a ball or scored a point. And here's the interesting part. It doesn't necessarily mean you're boring, antisocial, or disconnected. Your brain may simply find reward, identity, and excitement in different places. So let's explore 10 signs you're not obsessed with sports and what that might reveal about your psychology. Sign 1: you don't feel personally connected to teams. Maybe you can watch a game, enjoy the competition, and appreciate the talent, but when your favorite team loses, you don't feel like you lost. You don't carry the result with you for the rest of the day. For some people, a sports team becomes part of their identity. Their victories feel personal and their losses can feel deeply emotional. But your brain keeps a little distance. You can say that was a great game and then simply move on. You don't need a team to feel proud, connected, or important, and that doesn't mean you lack passion. It simply means your identity comes from somewhere else. Because sometimes you can enjoy the game without needing to become part of it. Sign 2: your mood doesn't depend on the score. For some people, one final score can completely change their mood. A victory can make them feel incredible, while a loss can ruin their entire day. But for you, the scoreboard doesn't have that kind of power. Your team might win, your team might lose, and you simply think, that's sports. Then you continue with your life. You can enjoy the excitement without allowing the result to control your emotions, and that's an interesting difference. You understand that you didn't control the outcome, so there's no reason to let it control your happiness. Because when your emotional well-being doesn't depend on something you can't control, you keep your peace even when the scoreboard doesn't go your way. Sign 3: you don't understand the need to watch every game. For some people, missing a game feels almost impossible. They rearrange their schedule, cancel plans, stay awake late just to make sure they don't miss a single moment. But for you, it's different. You might enjoy watching a game when you have time, but you don't feel like you have to watch it. If you miss it, you simply move on. Your mind doesn't treat every match like an emergency. You have other things that feel more important: your work, your hobbies, your relationships, or simply your peace and free time. And that's the key difference. You can enjoy sports without allowing sports to control your schedule, because when entertainment becomes an obligation, it stops feeling like entertainment. Sometimes not needing to watch every game is simply a sign that you know where you want to spend your attention. Sign 4: you don't enjoy sports arguments. Some people can argue about sports for hours. Which team is better? Who is the greatest player? Who deserved to win? They defend their favorite team as if their own reputation depends on it, but you don't feel that need. You might listen to the conversation, but when the argument becomes heated, you quietly think, why are we getting so angry over a game? You understand that people can have different opinions, and you don't need to prove yours is the only correct one. For you, sports are entertainment, not a battlefield. You'd rather protect your peace than waste your energy trying to convince someone that your team is better, because emotional maturity isn't about winning every argument. Sometimes it's knowing when an argument simply isn't worth your energy. Sign 5: you don't feel the need to belong to a sports community. For many people, supporting a team creates a powerful sense of belonging. They wear the same colors, celebrate with strangers, and feel connected because they all support the same team, but you don't feel that same need. You don't need a jersey, a stadium, or a team's logo to feel like you belong somewhere. You may find connection through friendships, music, creativity, learning, or meaningful conversations, and that's perfectly okay. Your identity doesn't depend on being part of a crowd. You can respect people's passion for sports without needing to make it your own. Because belonging isn't about following everyone else, it's about finding people and places where you can genuinely be yourself. And sometimes the strongest sense of identity comes from knowing you don't need a group to tell you who you are. Sign 6: you prefer participating over watching. Maybe you don't understand how someone can spend 3 hours watching a game when you could spend those same 3 hours doing something yourself. You'd rather play the sport, go for a walk, work on a project, exercise, learn something new, or create something. For you, the experience becomes more exciting when you're actually involved. Watching others achieve something doesn't give you the same feeling as challenging yourself, and that's an important difference. You don't necessarily lack interest in sports, you simply prefer action over observation. You'd rather create memories than watch someone else create them. Because sometimes your mind doesn't want to sit on the sidelines, it wants to be part of the game. Sign 7. You don't understand why people take sports personally. Sometimes you watch people arguing over sports, and honestly you don't understand why they're so angry. Someone insults their team and suddenly, it's personal. Their team loses and their entire mood changes. You sit there thinking, but you weren't even playing. For you, there's a clear line between entertainment and identity. You can enjoy competition without feeling personally attacked when your team loses. You don't need someone else's victory to feel successful, and someone else's defeat doesn't make you feel like you've failed. Maybe that's because you naturally separate who you are from what you support, and that can give you a certain emotional distance. You can cheer, you can celebrate, you can enjoy the excitement, but when the game ends, you return to your life because a sport can be something you enjoy without becoming something that defines you. Sign 8. You have other things that give you the same excitement. Maybe sports simply aren't where you find your strongest excitement. While someone else gets a rush from watching a championship, you might feel that same energy from creating something, learning something new, building a business, playing music, traveling, gaming, or working toward a personal goal. Your brain still wants challenge, stimulation, and achievement. It just finds those rewards somewhere else, and that's important to understand. Not being obsessed with sports doesn't mean you're boring or that you don't have passion. It may mean your passion simply has a different direction. You don't need to follow the crowd to feel excited. You just need to discover what makes you feel alive, because everyone has something that lights up their mind, and sometimes it isn't a stadium, it's the life they're building for themselves. Sign 9. You can enjoy sports without becoming emotionally attached. You might actually enjoy watching sports, but you don't need them to control your emotions. You can watch an incredible game, appreciate an amazing performance, and genuinely enjoy the excitement. But when the game ends, you simply move on. You don't spend the entire week replaying every moment. You don't let a loss ruin your mood, and you don't treat a victory like it changes your entire life. You can enjoy the experience without making it part of your identity. That's an important difference. You don't have to hate sports to avoid obsession. You can appreciate the competition while keeping your emotional distance. Because sometimes the healthiest way to enjoy something is to love the experience without needing it to define you. Sign 10. You don't need a team to give you an identity. For some people, their favorite team becomes a huge part of who they are. The jersey they wear, the colors they represent, the community they belong to, even the way they introduce themselves. But you don't need a team to tell you who you are. Your identity comes from your values, your experiences, your relationships, your goals, and the person you're becoming. You can support a team or not support one at all without feeling like something is missing. You don't need to say "we won" to feel successful, because you understand that your life is your own game, and that's the deeper psychology behind it. When your identity comes from within, you don't need an outside group to give you a sense of worth. Because at the end of the day, you aren't defined by the team you support. You're defined by the life you choose to build. Your brain isn't missing something. Maybe you've spent years wondering, why don't I care about sports like everyone else? Maybe you've even felt strange because you couldn't understand the obsession, but there's nothing inherently wrong with being different. People find meaning in different places. Some find it in competition, some find it in creativity, some find it in relationships, some find it in learning, and some simply find peace in not needing constant excitement. The important thing isn't whether you love sports, it's understanding what makes you feel alive, because your brain doesn't have to follow the crowd to be fulfilled. So here's the question. What is something you feel deeply passionate about that most people around you don't understand? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more psychology, human behavior, and self-discovery content. Because sometimes being different isn't a weakness. It's simply proof that your mind found its own path.